Keep thinking you're fucking smarter than me. Don't ever make that mistake again, son.
It's your father, Tariq. He has something to tell you.
I think you should answer it.
Now, direction Powerbook 2 Ghost seemed to be going in is making Tariq St Patrick understand why Ghost did some of the things he did, the consequences to those actions, but also how those actions hurt not just the lives of those in the game, but innocent and loved ones. And so Tariq is going through an evolution of understand what Ghost built, how he built it, but ultimately how you can become your own worst enemy, which ends up destroying everything, along with you either ending up dead or in jail. And of course, there are a lot of factors that do play a part. There's lies, deceit, manipulation, affairs, death, making the wrong moves, enemies in the street, law enforcement, and situations that are sometimes out of your control, which is why Ghost was a king at being 3 moves ahead of everybody else. Although even as good as Ghost was, everyone makes mistakes in the game, because we all have weaknesses. For example, Ghost made a mistake with Angela, killing Roller, and letting Maria Suarez live, not just once, but twice. And those are just a few examples. But despite Ghost's flaws, he was incredibly intelligent when it came to control over his enemies and also those he loved, and especially control over Tariq St Patrick. Because despite Tariq killing Ghost, one could argue Ghost has more control over Tariq now than he did when he was alive.
He's dead and he's still trying to control my life.
Well, what did you expect?
Power finished with Tariq killing Ghost because he believed his father was in the way of his future, just like Breeze was in the way of his all those years ago. But yet Ghost got the last laugh because he designed a will in his way where the floodgates only open when Tariq graduates from college with an average 3.5 GPA. And unbeknown to us, this was a foreshadow for what was to come. In season 1 of Ghost, Tariq had the difficulty of having to navigate his life with his mom Tasha in jail, and him being in a world which was different to where we've seen Tariq before. But this time he had the added pressure and no choice but to turn to the game, to pay for Davis McLean, something which the Ghost did warn him of.
I would fucking rather kill than to let you into this life. So whatever gangster moment you feeling, you make sure it's the last one.
This is who I am. These suits don't change who you are. And that school can't change who I am.
Ghost told Tariq he'd rather kill him than let him into this life, but Tariq was right about one thing: those suits didn't change who Ghost was, and as much as he wanted Tariq to be the man he wanted him to be, Tariq wanted to forge his own path. But a series of events and conversations across season 1 ended up with Tariq at his father's grave, not once, but twice.
You lied to everyone and asked for the truth. That's something you've never given anyone. You were in the way. I had to do it.
Ironically, what Ghost named his nightclub was something that became and is still a huge problem in the world of power for Tariq: truth. Because the world of power around Tariq is constantly filled with lies, but he had to be truthful with himself, and that was coming to the realization that he was a lot like his father. He said, "You're the only one who understands," because as we'd established before, Ghost had to do something similar when he killed Breeze, because he felt as if he had no choice, and Tariq in Heart of Darkness felt as if he had no choice. He said, it always comes down to him, his family, and a gun. And so season 1 ended with Tariq one day wanting to be just like Ghost, because ghosts never die.
You may not be here no more, but ghosts never die.
Now, Tariq saying Ghost never died did send a lot of Power fans crazy, because it's true. Although James St Patrick is now dead, you can't kill a ghost, and his spirit now lives on through Tariq St Patrick and also through Daniel, who continues to watch over Tariq. And we're going to come to him in just a moment, because season 2 was where we really began to see the moves Ghost put in place before he was dead. But before that, we saw a parallel of when Ghost was arrested by Angela, with Tariq now being arrested by Kamal Tate. He was being taken away when everybody looked on, just like for Ghost. We also had Rashad Tate looking on, who would have been smiling on the inside, thinking that's what your father deserved, as well as Jacob Banks, unknown, playing in the background, the same song when Ghost was arrested.
What is this?
I actually don't know what's inside. Only that I was supposed to give it to you in the event that you were arrested for homicide.
It's from your father.
I had actually hoped, Mr. St. Patrick, that I would never have to give that to you.
Now, Ghost's letter was something I don't think anybody expected, and it was a letter which Daniel hoped he never had to give Tariq because it would only ever land in his hands if he were to ever be charged with a homicide. And it was a letter which made Tariq think Ghost knew him better than he even knew himself, which is true to a certain extent, because for Ghost to plan 3 moves ahead in case Tariq was ever to be arrested, Ghost did know Tariq. But I wouldn't be surprised if Ghost accounted for every single scenario, because that's what great chess players do. They evaluate the chessboard and evaluate where you can end up making certain moves, which is why Ghost was making Tariq make certain moves. For example, going college. That was Ghost's way of controlling the chessboard, but Tariq's story isn't over and he still has time to write his own. Or does he? Because Ghost did also make another move.
Your father also instructed that the adoption records be sealed, so that once she's gone, she can't be found.
He had all of this set up before he died.
Now, I made a point of how superior chess players are able to see certain moves and outcomes and have moves in place to counter them, and that's what James did. He thought of every single possible outcome, crossing every T and dotting every I. He knew for whatever reason if the St. Patricks were wiped out, Yasmin would be adopted and her last name changed, so she's able to live her own life away from the mistakes of the drug-dealing murderers, and it was a pretty smart move. It was also at this moment in time Tariq realized he didn't know anything about his father, because he is finding out about how smart he was now that he's dead than when he was alive, which brings me to the question, what did Ghost have to tell him?
It's your father, Tariq. He has something to tell you.
I think you should answer it.
In Tariq's hallucination, we saw those who Tariq killed or had a hand in killing, with a phone call from his father. And what message did Ghost have for Tariq in that moment? Could Ghost have wanted to give Tariq some advice and tell him that he knows he can be the man he's always wanted him to be and leave that drug shit behind? Or could it have been another moment like where Tariq received the letter? Who knows? But one thing's for sure, we haven't seen the last of Ghost's moves, and that brings me on to some thoughts and theories for Power Book 2 Ghost Season 3. Daniel is someone who's been watching over Tariq throughout both Season 1 and 2, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him again next season, because if Ghost would have thought that far ahead where he had a letter ready for Tariq in case he was ever arrested for homicide, or where Yasmin would be adopted if there was nobody to look after her, then what else would Ghost have thought about? But that's also where Daniel comes in, and why I think his story isn't over. He's a man who knows some of Ghost's secrets and what he has in place through certain trigger points, but it's also what happens with Tariq which will determine whether we see Daniel. So could we see a letter for Tariq when and if he potentially graduates? Could we see a message from Ghost when and if he has kids of his own? Or could Ghost leave him something where Tariq could even find a way to finish what Ghost started with the Queen's Child project? Simon Stern is also a man who admired James, which is now transferred over to Tariq. He's invested in Tariq because he wants the nightclubs, but Simon Stern is also a businessman, and if he sees the same qualities in Tariq than he did with Ghost, we might see them working together in the future, not out of Tariq's choice that is. We also have to consider the fact, if Tariq ever tries to cheat his way to the will, then I wouldn't be surprised if Ghost throws another curveball, because I don't believe in changing the rules of the game. It's all about winning, and Ghost was a winner. So if we were to look at this in chess terms, when you look at the board, you don't sit there and think, I'm losing, I wish a pawn could move this way or that way, because that's not the game. You have to think, I'm fucked. So now what's the best possible move that I can make at this moment in time? And that's what Tariq has to do with the hand that Ghost has dealt him. He can't cheat the game. So the only way to win is to beat Ghost at his own game. Or will he? Because what you'll notice when you play a master at chess, he's sticking to the same rules as you. He's within the same constraints, but he'll destroy you because he has a better understanding of the rules. So in my opinion, Tariq can't cheat his way to the will, because you can bet Ghost would have thought of everything. And like he said, keep thinking you're smarter than me. Don't ever make that mistake again. So with that being said, my question for you guys is, will Ghost continue to be 3 moves ahead of Tariq? And if he is, what are the secrets, letters, or plans does he have in place up his sleeve from beyond his grave? Drop all your thoughts down below on all things Tariq and Ghost. And of course, if you are new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything Power Book 2 Ghost and Power Universe related. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.